Hey, it's Lieutenant Mark. I'm back, and normally I don't usually do these news videos, but today there's just been a machine gun pelting the top of my head of stupid ideas from Star Trek land. We got old characters possibly returning, and new shows that probably ain't that new, if we're being honest. What do I mean by this? Uh, Listen, we just survived Picard season 3. Barely. We just survived it. Let's be honest. We got out of that Picard Star Trek show by the skin of our teeth. And what do I mean by that? It means we didn't let bygones be bygones, and we couldn't leave things well enough alone. TNG had a great ending. It was a great final episode. It was a little send-off. We got a little bit of the future, a little bit of the past mixed together, and we just send our characters off in their merry way, and it was a great ending. It was heartwarming. Why did we ruin it? Money, probably. But we brought our TNG characters back out for one more adventure with First Contact that eventually became Nemesis, and it was stale. We stuck the landing, we took off again, very stupidly, and couldn't land again. So we failed the ending in Nemesis, and then we finally came back for Star Trek Picard, ruined it again, and then finally managed to save it at the end of Picard Season 3 by doing what? Spoilers, doing exactly what we did at the final episode of TNG itself. We brought it back to where it should have ended. Let's let sleeping dogs lie. Maybe I'm talking about William Shatner. Maybe I'm talking about Kate Mulgrew. Did you see the news lately? I remember the 2000s. I remember when there was like no Star Trek going on. I remember when it was slow in Star Trek land. I remember when the idea was we needed to reboot it. We need to start again. And that brings me back to the Star Trek series that could save the franchise. This is from Giant Freaking Robot. This is what inspired this video. 1 is something random. 2, maybe that's a fluke. 3 stories, that's a trend. That's a pattern. These people, the powers that be that control Star Trek, be it Kurtzman, Paramount, what have you, they don't do anything by accident. They sprinkle things into the media. They test the waters. What are they doing right now? We just had Section 31, unmitigated failure. Let's be honest, it wasn't good. We can all basically agree that it was terrible. They agree that it was terrible. This is how you know. They're floating ideas about saving Star Trek, changing Star Trek. I can't find the source on this, but Kurtzman apparently says Star Trek is dying. Take it with a grain of salt. I couldn't find the source, but I did hear it floating around on Reddit. Why are we changing things? Why are we bringing things back? Why are we reverting to type? The Star Trek series that could save the franchise. Save. You don't save something that isn't dying. These days, the Star Trek franchise is in a precarious position. Both Discovery and Lower Decks are prematurely canceled. Well, and Section 31 was a direct-to-streaming mess that that killed any remaining fan enthusiasm. Wow, that's a little bit much for future films from Paramount. Section 31 was New Trek, the worst of New Trek, straight, mainline, no chaser, because they couldn't take the bad stuff and sprinkle it over 10 episodes with some other good stuff. They had to give it to you straight. It couldn't even fool the critics. When the critics hate it, that's when it's really bad. And what happens here is that it's writing on the wall. So what are we going to do? What do we got in the tank? Strange New Worlds Season 3. By the way, Strange New Worlds Season 4. We're already seeing official cast photographs from Season 4. Season 3 isn't even out yet. I got a bad feeling about that. And now we're staring down the barrel of Starfleet Academy. Who knows what's going to happen there? We got 2, 3, if we count Strange New Worlds as 2 new seasons. 3 different Star Trek things coming. And now we're flooding these ideas of bringing old things back. That sounds desperate. The mission we never saw. If you just spit out your tea, Earl Grey hot, haha, you might be surprised to discover that both the Star Trek chronology, I have it right there, and the Star Trek Encyclopedia, which came out in 1994, both specify that Kirk and crew had a second 5-year mission. All these Star Trek Strange New Worlds actors were cast because they were young enough to pull off pre-original series versions of these famous characters. Again, Strange New Worlds, we're going back into TOS. This isn't the first time we went back. Remember what I said. 2009 rolled around. I lived through the 2000s. We got to reboot it. The problem with that is it's a very, very, very pretty, empty thing. People came back to watch Star Trek 2009 because they said, hey, this is that Star Trek thing. I always wondered what that was. I could probably really easily just get into Star Trek by watching this movie. It's not diet Star Trek. It's Star Trek compressed into pill form that you can just kind of swallow and enjoy. And the reality is it plays different to the well-seasoned audience than it did to the general audience. And maybe it got a lot of people into Star Trek. That's great. But or do we want to do that again? We just did it. I would argue that the Kelvin timeline has all but failed. There's not going to be a Star Trek 4 in that timeline, I guarantee you. Speaking of which, that film's biggest problem is that it will be poorly focused on contact with aliens and formation of the Federation. Okay. Considering that Paramount has been canceling great shows like Star Trek Lower Decks while pushing out slop like Section 31, it's doubtful that we'll take my suggestion for a new series very seriously. I don't take it very seriously. It seems you're suggesting that you want more TOS. You want to go backwards. Why? Just to be safe? And look at this. Despite the full decade between the end of the show and the first film, TMP was supposed to take place relatively soon after TOS, I know. And the actors were old at that time, but those TOS movies, they played to both audiences. They worked fundamentally as their own movies, and they worked for the seasoned audience who could take everything they learned about those characters forward. It played both ways. They weren't like the Kelvin timeline. So basically what my point here is, and after reading this article, and you can find it yourself on Giant Freaking Robot, they're suggesting that we could take the Strange New Worlds cast, or possibly a new cast, into another 5-year mission. Do we want that? How's it related to this? A new Captain Janeway spinoff is being pursued. Kate Mulgrew promises. I don't know. I don't think this is real. I got a feeling this isn't real. They hit me with this 1, 2, 3 punch. My instinct is saying that this isn't real. That this is just something they said. Because they're desperate after Section 31 or something. They need to like improve their stock value or something. Paramount is looking at the Star Trek franchise and they're saying we're going to sell this. I don't know why these stories come out. Again, these are independent sources for media news. They ain't so independent. Let's put it that way. If you look back in time, you'll see that new shows and new ideas and new things were first inserted into the media with like suggestion, like we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. Remember Strange New Worlds? People were clamoring for the cast of the Enterprise to come back in their own show, and they got it. Now we're seeing this stuff. Are we going to get it? I'm doubtful about this one. But that TOS one, I don't know. It's up in the air. Maybe Strange New Worlds could eventually just get to TOS. After Star Trek Picard ended in 2023, fans remain hopeful that a hypothetical series, Star Trek Legacy, could continue the story. That was never real. There was never a Star Trek Legacy. That was just a thought. Again, if fans pursued it enough, it could have been real. That has happened before. But Star Trek Legacy was never more than a thought. So you can't cancel or get rid of something that was never real. So don't get too disappointed. Then again, Star Trek Legacy, it's a new show. No, it's not. It's not a new show. Like I said before, refer to my video, The Next Generation, or Finding the Future's Future, that presentation I did. We're not fundamentally out of the shadow of TNG yet. Believe it or not. Discovery Season 4, Season 5, right direction. Right? You can be in the right direction. You can have a good idea, but it can still be bad. Right? And I don't think they're terrible. But I appreciate the effort. Okay, Star Trek Legacy. No. 7, Picard's son, bunch of nobodies. We need new Star Trek. What is the next Star Trek? It's in the name. Look, Legacy. What does that mean? Old. We don't need that anymore. See, these stories are connected. I'm not joking around with you. I'm not joshing. Continue the story of the early 25th century and extend the glory years. Oh, there you go, look. Extend the glory years of the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager for several more seasons. But now, with Legacy all but dead, there's a bit of hope for another show set in the same era and focused on someone fans have been waiting to see back in live action for quite a while. Really? Do we want our old favorite characters just to have one more chance to, embarrass themselves on television? Is that what we want? Be honest. We barely survived it with Picard Season 3, just barely, but man, we're talking about the possibility of Star Trek Janeway. We had Prodigy, we didn't watch that, apparently. A series focused on the return of Kate Mulgrew as Admiral Catherine Janeway. Sometimes after the event of Prodigy, perhaps after the events of Picard Season 3, okay? Speaking to a crowd of fans during the official Star Trek cruise, Mulgrew answered a question. There's a conversation happening. Uh-oh. Mulgrew said, according to What Culture, it is being pursued. Man, I think we're just going with the, everything in the kitchen sink, all the above answer. We're just going for all of it. We're just going to start shotgunning the wall and see what sticks. Mulgrew expressed concerns that a Janeway live-action series might not live up to what fans wanted. Exactly. Very smart. And also she says she didn't want to do a show as a vanity project. That's what Picard Season 1 and 2 were. They really felt like vanity projects. I don't know. So beyond the live-action Star Trek Janeway show, how could Mulgrew return? In theory, Janeway could cameo in a Starfleet Academy as a hologram of herself. Yeah. Yeah, we already got Robert Picardo. It's already happening in Starfleet Academy for that exact same reason. And Prodigy firmly established at least one holographic version of Janeway. That sounds a lot more reasonable than trying to do an entire Janeway show. I'd like Prodigy to be the option for a third season. Me too, Mulgrew said in a pre-taped interview ahead of the cruise. So if Janeway does return, it seems that would be Mulgrew's preference, at least for now. Again, we're floating this idea of a Janeway show. That's not nothing. We're floating the idea of a new TOS-style show. That's not nothing. This means something. These could go somewhere, unfortunately. You may think different, but I think Star Trek belongs in the future. But I said this was a 1, 2, 3 punch. What's the third punch? William Shatner was so impressed by a Star Trek writer's idea for a new Captain Kirk return that he's ready to give them a shot. I'm waiting a pitch. Waiting? He's going to be like 94 years old. I think the time for waiting is over. If you were going to do this, you should have done it. Otoy did that return of Captain Kirk already, which I loved, by the way, but they did him with CGI and some other fakery. I thought it was fantastic because it didn't step on anyone's toes. And it didn't waste our time with a whole new show that was just about one character. We didn't have a new show. We didn't have a new movie. We had a little presentation that didn't really ruin anything. And like I said before, it didn't step on anyone's toes. Very important. But that show did not actually include William Shatner. If I remember correctly, William Shatner, as he is now, is not in that video. He should have been in the veil between timelines where he sees his younger self. He should have looked back and saw the 94, 93-year-old William Shatner. That would have been cool. That would have been how you did it. If they did that, I'd call it a day. But right now, we're awaiting a pitch? Is that wise? If you're going to use William Shatner, use him yesterday. Anything. But I don't know if we need a show. In a surprise admission, William Shatner has revealed that he's been approached about another return as Captain Kirk. I have been asked to come back as Kirk so many times, Shatner said during an appearance at Fan Expo Vancouver. If Kirk is going to come back, it has to mean something. It has to be the show. But I was so impressed by the writer, so I said, let's talk after I'm done in Vancouver. So I'm waiting a pitch to make the show. It should come on Monday or Tuesday. Oh, man. To boldly go into the franchise's complex past, present, future with the Star Trek timeline and check out all the new TV shows headed your way soon. The character of Kirk has since appeared in various universes, most notably by Chris Pine in the rebooted Kelvin timeline. Shatner even penned his own Shatnerverse novels, I remember that. Do we want Kate Mulgrew back? Do we want William Shatner back? Do we want Star Trek Legacy? Do we want Giant Freaking Robots idea where they just do another 5-year mission? Do we want these things, or do we want the future? I'll leave it up to you. But normally, like I said, I don't do these news videos, but these news stories hit oddly close together. Surely you agree. Does that mean something? I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and what do you want the future of Star Trek to look like? The future of Star Trek to look like a post-Kurtzman era may come sooner than you think. Of course, we have to get through Academy and 2 more seasons of Strange New Worlds. If we ever see season 3, we're gonna know more about season 4 before we know about season 3 pretty soon. But I'm going to see you when next time I see you. Lieutenant Mark, signing off. I'll see you next time.